Hello to everybody who's going to be watching this video. I am making this video in order to fix some of the issues that may come up by the union and maybe by certain members within our ranks. First thing is first is that I'm going to be looking away from the camera from time to time because I wrote down what I wanted to say. So here goes. Hello to all my fellow workers at Garda World. My name is 21497, aka Jerk Chicken Richard, aka Richard the Casual, but my real name is Richard Fearing. I'm 46 years old and I was born and raised in Jamaica. I want to address a few things in regards to the posted recordings. The title of the postings are specific to me because I'm black, as you can tell. The recordings are based not only on human rights violation, but also on duty of fair representation, which is what all unions are required by the Canadian Industrial Relationship Board to do for their union members. There is also the Canada Labour Code, which is also was violated in these recordings. I will now address the issues in regards to the duty of fair representation, which is what all of you union paying members should be concerned with. The Canada Industrial Relationship Board certifies trade unions as bargaining agents to represent employees in a defined bargaining unit. What is duty of fair representation? This is very, very, very important for you guys to understand. It's actually extremely important for you guys to understand because if you guys don't understand this, then you guys are going to be in a lot of trouble. Section 37 of the Code provides that a trade union or any one of its representative that is bargaining agent for a unit of employees shall not act in a manner that is arbitrary, discriminatory, or in bad faith in the representation of any of the employees in the bargaining unit with respect to their rights under the collective agreement that is applicable to them. This is called the duty of fair representation. And all you union guys need to go and look at this. Look it up, understand it, learn it. It's very, very, very important for you to know this stuff. So, what does arbitrary, discriminatory, and bad faith means? We're going to go into that right now. Arbitrary conduct by the union generally means that a union has failed to adequately investigate any employee's grievance. There you go. The union must investigate your grievance. Have to. If they don't, that's a problem. Or any issues that you bring to them, and has handled the employee's case in a superficial manner. So it can also mean that a union has not given sufficient consideration to the employee's interest when acting on his or her behalf, or has seriously negligent or has seriously been negligent in representing an employee. However, this does not mean that the union cannot make mistakes or that they must always be correct in every assessment they make as to the merits of any employee's case. Now that part is very, very important as well. What's that saying is that the union is allowed to make mistakes. But it doesn't mean that the union can be seriously negligent. And I guarantee you right now that the union excuse, whenever there's a problem, they're going to come and say, oh, they made a mistake. This is exactly what they're going to say. That's exactly what they're saying right now with my case against them with the board. They made a mistake. Okay, we're going to get into that in a minute. We're going to see if what they did to me is a mistake. Let's get into discriminatory manner. This means that a trade union must not discriminate against an employee on any illegal or prohibited grounds, such as age. We're going to get into that one right now. For all you older full-timers that are getting older, I believe you're going to start having some problems. And the problem that you're going to start having is your leg doesn't work as good as it used to, your eyesight doesn't work as good as it used to, your shooting skills aren't as good as it used to be. And what do you think the company is going to want to do to you? They're probably going to want to get rid of you. Instead of training you more effectively or helping you to be better because you've gotten older, so you're not as sharp. And the other thing too is the company does not retrain us every year, if you notice. The only thing you have to do every year is show up and do a requal. But they don't train you on anything else, like getting on and off the truck or making sure that the crews and nights have updated training, better training. You just have your requal and that's it. There's nothing else. So a lot of guys become complacent, and because nothing ever happens, well, one day when something does happen, people don't know how to react because they don't have that consistent training. So this is a problem that your union, not Richard Fearing, your union should be taken care of. Your union should be looking out for you guys, not Richard Fearing. The union. So all you older guys, watch and see what's going to happen to you as you get older. And your union is not going to do anything for you. It's happening now. I know it's happening now. Let me keep going with this. So age is one thing, race is another thing. Now that's specific to me. Religion, sex, well, I'm pretty sure there's a difference between men and women, and who knows what's going on at Garda with that. Or medical condition, that's another thing that's going to affect some of you older workers. It also means that a union should not treat individuals or groups of employees differently based on unreasonable or irrational grounds. Hence, casuals. I'm not saying that the union can't treat casuals differently, but there are some things that the union has done that needs to be addressed. For one thing, which is what I will get into later, and that is pay. So I'm going to get into that a little bit later on. Now, it does say here, however, this does not mean that every instance of differential treatment is discriminatory. So I understand that. Now, what is bad faith? That is with an improper purpose, right? Bad faith has been found to include conduct or decisions of the trade union that were motivated by personal feelings of hostility. I think that applies in my case, or ill will towards an employee. I definitely know that applies in my case. It may also include deceitful or dishonest conduct. We're going to get into that a little bit later. You guys are going to see where that deceitful, I don't even know if we can call it that because I think it's much worse than that, but we're going to get into that later on. In deciding whether or not a union has acted in a manner that is arbitrary, discriminatory, or in bad faith, the board will assess the union's conduct as to how it handled an employee's case. It will look at how the union acted and the process it used to make its decision concerning the employee's case. We're going to get into that because there's only one case that I'm going to bring up with you guys. One only. I have several, but there's just one I need to bring up. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on too. Employees do not have the absolute right to have their grievance referenced to arbitration, or referred to arbitration, excuse me. A union may decide not to pursue a grievance or may settle a grievance without the employee's agreement. as long as the union's decision is not arbitrary, discriminatory, or in bad faith. There you go. So again, that's why I'm trying to tell you guys that you guys need to understand this. This is the key to dealing with the union. Now, I've learned this stuff inside and out. And how did I learn it? Well, I referenced court cases. I went online and looked up court cases involving unions. And I could see clearly when the union was wrong and when the union was right, which means that there's times where the union definitely violated the DFR, duty of fair representation, and there's times where the union was like, they didn't do anything wrong, they did everything right. So that is very important that you guys need to know this. Um, what this means is the union member do not have any rights to deal with the employer. I'm going to tell you this again. When you got into the union, you lost all your rights. And I'm going to keep going with that. You gave up your rights to the union when you joined. Your union is the only entity that can speak for you to the employer. Please let this sink in for a second. No, maybe 2-3 minutes. I'm going to tell you right now that you have no rights. You have some rights, but not really. Now I'm going to show you how personal this is to me. So I'm going to read what I wrote here. As a person of color, I know exactly what it's like not to have any rights. I also know what it's like to lose my rights and or have someone make me believe I don't have any rights. Now this stuff here that I'm telling you goes back to the 60s, the 30s, the 20s, 1800. I'm talking slavery days here. I personally know what that is all about. I'm not going to talk about that right now because that's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to discuss the union, which is what we all have in common here. Brotherhood, paying union members. Don't forget that you guys are paying somebody else to represent you. And if that person or company is not representing your interest, you guys need to do something about that. At the end of the day, you are the boss. We are the boss. My union dues, your union dues, and everybody else's union dues. You are the boss, not the union, and definitely not Garda. Garda is not the boss. You guys are the boss. When you have a union, let me give you another union. OPSU, the government workers. The police union. Oh, that's a good one. Do you think you can get rid of a police officer? I don't think so. It's not the police officer that defends the police officer. It's the police union that defends the police officer. They're the ones that go and fight for the police officer. And good luck with that one. If you think you're going to win, that ain't going to happen. Now that's how a union is. For far too long, the Teamsters has and or have been violating your rights. Are any of you union members happy with the current climate at the branch? I don't think so. Are you getting what you want? I don't think so either. If you are not happy with things at Garda, then you all need to make a change. Garda World is not to be blamed for what's been going on. It's your union. Garda is going to do whatever they want to whomever they want as long as the union lets them get away with it. End of story. The union will also do whatever they want to whomever they want. Also end of story. Remember, you have no rights. Or maybe they make you think you have no rights. This is a very, very important piece of information I'm sharing with you. You have rights. The only thing you don't have is you cannot go and talk to the employer yourself directly. But if the people who you've hired and you're paying your union dues to carry out this work is not doing it, then you need to get rid of them. That's your right. You are the boss, not the union. The union is never the boss, and they never will be the boss. You're the guys. You guys are the boss. Remember that. Don't be scared of any union member. Now remember, you guys need to work together as a collective, not as individuals. If a union member is being violated by the company and the union, or the union, then that's a violation in all members. Because if they do it to one person, they'll do it to another person, and so on. So you guys need to work together as a collective because that's what you guys have, a collective bargaining agreement. You need to live up to that. I'm going to get into something else too here, and that is I don't have a problem with Black Lives Matter. I don't have a problem with White Lives Matter. And I don't have a problem with All Lives Matter. The reason why is because I don't follow what those guys are doing. What I follow is, does humanity matter? When humanity matters, then all this other stuff doesn't matter anymore. Because we're all human beings and we're all supposed to treat each other like human beings. So you guys may think that this is all about, I'm trying to turn this into a black and white thing, but it has nothing to do with that. This is a humanity issue. You have a bunch of human beings treating another human being like they're nothing. And because these other human beings believe that they have some type of power, which they believe they have, of some sort, or they're in control of something, which they believe they are, which they're not, they believe that they can use this power that apparently they have on the other individual. And not just that, especially when they team up or in collusion with each other, they believe that they can do whatever it is that they think they can do. Well, I want to make it quite clear. No one has any control over no one. They don't. It's an illusion if you think you have control over somebody. Anyone at any time can do anything they want to anyone at any time. So the reason why I'm telling you this is, if you guys want to do something to the union, you can. There's nothing stopping you. You band together, and if you're not happy, you get rid of them. That's it. The union has no control. You do. So they're going to pray and hope that you guys don't band together. They're going to pray and hope that you guys fight each other. And their job is to make me seem discreditable. They're going to discredit me. They're going to say, oh, this Richard guy. Oh, they're going to say this recording is fake too. All my recordings are fake. They're going to find every single way under the sun to discredit me. Not when you have recordings. Discredit that. And good luck. Because you may be able to fool some of the people that work at Garda. But you want me to fool all the people that work at Garda. You certainly ain't fooling me. Let's continue. Now I'm going to get into an example of the situation. I filed a grievance. The grievance number is 4721. Listen to the recordings. This grievance is called back pay. And this grievance, this is what actually started everything, to be honest. This is what started everything between me and Garda. I started at Garda in April. That's when the training started. But I actually was given a letter of, a letter previously to that in March, saying, okay, you're going to start your training course, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. I trained um, for 2 weeks, and that training was firearms training. And I never got paid for this. In fact, no one within the past few years were paid to my knowledge. I brought this to the union's attention, and nothing was ever done about it. Would any of you union guys would like to go for 2 weeks worth of training, of Garda training, I should say, and not get paid? If your answer is yes, then you are working at the right place with the right union. If your answer is yes, if your answer is no, then you are working at the right place but with the wrong union representation. If your answer is yes, I'm willing to fight for the next few years in order to get paid for training, then you are working at the right place but with the wrong union. The moral of the story here is that these things should never happen. All right. Now, what I want to read to you guys here is something that's very important, and that is Rule 16.04 of the CBA. And what it says is, any newly hired employee will have at least 16 hours training. It is understood that this will include the time involved in procuring the firearms proficiency certificate to be counted as 8 hours and 8 hours of job training before he shall work on an armored vehicle. Thereafter, he will be paid for the length of his regular shift or the hours spent in training, whichever is greater, at his regular straight time rate, including the shift premium where applicable. There you go. It says it right in the collective bargaining agreement that I'm supposed to get paid for training. In fact, it listed the minimum amount of hours, which is 16 hours. But it also says if it takes more than 16 hours, then I'm going to get paid for that too. Well, I spent 2 weeks in training and I never got paid. And it says any newly hired employee. There is no distinction between casuals or full-timers. It's any. But let's just say that they did say any newly hired full-time employees. Well, the Canada Labor Code does not make any distinction between full-time and part-time. So the Canada Labor Code supersedes the collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement cannot be less than the Canada Labor Code. It has to be at the same or higher. Those are the rules. And again, you union members need to understand that those are the rules. If you don't, then the union is going to take advantage of you guys. Let me keep going with this here. Here's another question that I want you guys to ask the union when you see them. And that is, where is grievance number 4721? And what happened to it? Because you never heard it being brought up at the July 23rd, 2020 third step grievance meeting, but you did hear Richard talking about it on April 21st, 2020 at the first step grievance meeting. Grievances don't just disappear, but this one sure did, and that's true. That grievance in regards to being paid for training disappeared. In fact, that grievance wasn't just for Richard Faring, that grievance was for everybody. Because I said to you guys that over the last 2 years, all these casuals who started at the company never got paid for training. Some of them actually trained more than 2 weeks, never got paid. And again, I investigated this, not the union. That's because the union already know that these people were not getting paid. And even when they did know that they were not getting paid, even though it says in the collective bargaining agreement that they're supposed to be paid, they never did anything about it. So if you think about what I'm saying, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen a lot of casuals come through that building, they all have to be paid. That's a lot of money that the company is now liable for. So this is why the company needed to get rid of me by any means necessary. Now, they couldn't find any reasons to get rid of me, but they found one, so they think. Let's keep going. Now, if the members of the union is okay with having their grievances disappear, then stick with the Teamsters. But if you are not okay with what has transpired, then you need to act within the next 2 months to decertify the union. There's a window here that allows you guys to decertify the union. I know all about this stuff. And I didn't know about this stuff before. I learned about it just within the last few weeks. Why did I learn about it within the last few weeks? Because the union responded back to the board in regards to my claim. And what they said in their response didn't sit well with me. So then I started looking into more things. Please don't get distracted by the title of the recordings. That stuff that I wrote there about racism, don't get distracted by that. Those recordings only prove something took place. And what that something is, that's not for me to decide. It's not for you guys to decide. It's for the Canadian Human Rights Commission to decide, which they have this case. This is also for the board to decide as well. They have the case. So that's what this is about. This is about something that's specific to me based on my skin color and based on what happened. Now let me keep going. This is not a black and white thing, and it isn't. This is just a discrimination case I have against Garda. It's just a title. If I've left any doubts in your mind, then feel free to reach out to me personally. I promise you won't have to call the cops on me for not walking through a door first. In fact, this is what I was fired for while off duty. That's right. You guys need to remember there's a whole bunch of things in those videos, and one of them too is my pay. The company kept my pay for 2.5 months. They didn't pay me. Eventually they paid me. Now, how would you guys like it if Garda was able to keep your pay for 2.5 months and not pay you? The union made sure that that grievance that I filed, and you can hear me talking about it. Not just that, you can hear Carlos talking about it. I'm going to say his name. Telling Bill that he doesn't have to file a grievance to get paid. Nobody should have to file a grievance to get paid. In fact, we don't file grievances to get paid. We just get paid. But in my case, I had to file a grievance to get paid. And even when I did file a grievance to get paid, I still didn't get paid. All of this started because I filed a grievance. That's all I did. Trying to get paid for training. Trying to get other people paid for training. That's what started all of this. It started on the very first day of employment. I don't know anybody at Garda. I never did anything to anybody at Garda, but Garda decided that they didn't want to pay me. And other people too. And we've never done anything to Garda. We've never done anything to anybody at Garda. Nothing. So why should we not get paid when we're supposed to get paid? And even when I went and spoke to people, not filed a grievance, just talk to them. Why are you hating on me? I didn't do anything to you other than ask you to pay me. The collective bargaining agreement says you're supposed to pay me. Why am I the bad guy? I'm not confused by this, union members. I'm used to this type of treatment. You see, I'm black. I've been going through this shit for 46 years, more or less. So I'm used to it. Now, there's more things I could share, but I'm not, because I don't want to get into the weeds of all this other stuff, because it's not about that. This is about the union doing things they're not supposed to do. And you guys need to make a decision on what you're going to do with this union. And I recommend that you decertify this union and get rid of them because you're not happy. And if you keep this union there, you will never be happy because if they do it to me, they're going to do it to you. Remember, Owen walks into the room and asks Garda, why am I, Richard, not terminated? You expect your union guy to walk into a room and say that? If you expect your union guy to say that, then you have the right union working for you and your interest. But that union does not represent my interest. Hence the fight. All the other stuff with human rights, that's somebody else's thing to deal with too. But nobody is going to violate my human rights and think I'm not going to do something about it. You were probably maybe able to do that back in the 60s and the early 1800s, but in 2021, that ain't going to happen. So, you guys can reach out to me if you want to talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me, hopefully this video will shed some light on the whole thing, and don't be distracted. All the power is in your hands. Use it. I'm not working there. They fired me. I can't really do anything. I am not your leader. I am just an influencer. I'm here to influence you guys based on facts. And the facts are those recordings. That's what they're there for, is to prove to you guys what has occurred. Now you guys need to listen to the recordings. Those are facts. If some